Hey guys, my name's Lauren. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to make this video because I'm always encouraging you guys to read books. It's something that I have grown to love over the years, and I never always liked reading books in high school. I don't think I've ever actually read a book all the way through, but now I read probably at least 15 to 20 books a year. I love reading now, and the reason I'm able to love reading and the reason that reading's been able to actually help me make improvements in my life and my career and in my ways of thinking is because I've just followed my interests. You know, when you're in school, you can't really follow your interests. It's basically like, you need to read this book and you need to report on it, and we're all reading this as a class, so that's just what you're reading. Well, my brain just doesn't work like that. I could not get through books in high school, so call me stupid, whatever, but now I'm reading a ton of books, and I wanted to help you do the same because I think that it could be a really big source of confidence and growth for you. And I think that when you read books, you start to believe that you can do things on your own so much more. So I'm an educator for hairstylists, but my main thing is not to get you guys to feel like, oh, anytime I have a question, I could just go to Lauren, she knows the answer. My thing is I want to kind of build you guys up so that you believe you can actually find answers to your problems. You could actually do things that are going to change the outcome of your life and your career. And I want you to believe that you could actually get to the point where you don't have to rely 100% on anyone. And I think reading is just one of the best ways that you can do that. So I'm always encouraging you guys to read books. So I thought I would just give you 3 books to start off with right now that I think will really light a fire under you and get you inspired and really get you excited and interested in reading. That's one thing you have to do if you want to be somebody who just reads a lot of books. You have to get yourself interested and motivated to read. So I have so many books that I just absolutely love, and it was really hard to narrow it down, but I don't want this to be too overwhelming. So I'm gonna start with 3, and I'm gonna let you kind of branch out from there, and then maybe down the road I'll give you some more book recommendations as well. But I'm gonna start with 3 that I think you'll really like. The first 2 are more based on business and marketing. And then the last one is gonna be more about life improvement, because I really think that's like the foundation for how you could be successful in your career. Yes, you need to know tactics, you need to know business, you need to know marketing, you need to have, just the basic skills of hairstyling, hairdressing, color, all that stuff. But if you don't have like that character aspect at the foundation, that's what makes people quit a lot too. So again, 2 of them are going to be more marketing, business focused, and then the last one is going to be more, character, self-improvement. All right, so the first book that I wanted to recommend to you guys is called This is Marketing by Seth Godin. This is going to get to the real heart of marketing. A lot of people think of marketing as, okay, I do this thing, how do I get the word out there and get people to buy my thing? But Seth Godin's real underlying message throughout his whole book is that you should first start with thinking about how you could best serve people. Because once you think about how you could best serve people, you start thinking about more deep questions like, why would they want to get their hair done? What are they trying to accomplish in their lives and their career? How is this going to help their family life? And you start answering those types of questions before you go out and start creating content or promoting yourself online or in person or however you do it. So in this book, he really encourages you to make that mind shift from, okay, I have a service, how do I get people to buy it, to how can I best serve people? Because if that's where your motivation is how you can be of service to other people rather than how can I get people to give me money, you'll be able to create a much more loyal following, a much more sustainable business. A lot of people are just going straight for okay, what promotion can I do? What tactic can I do to get people in the door? But if you really want long-lasting, loyal clients and you want to enjoy your career and the relationships that you have with your clients, you want to focus more on how can you serve people. Another idea that pops out at me as I was reading this book is his thoughts on pricing. He says that low pricing is really just due to a lack of effort and disservice to the clients. So a lot of times when we think about pricing, we're just like, oh, we don't want to offend people by having higher prices. We're afraid to charge more because we don't know like how people will receive that. Well, he says that low prices are really the result of disservice and lack of effort. And that just like really hit me in the gut. I thought that was a really important point. low prices make people trust you less. They don't make people trust you more. So everybody likes low prices. There's no question about that. People would rather pay nothing for something than actually have to pay something. But the low price is a marketing strategy, and that's something that you want to think about as well. Your pricing is a marketing strategy. So he goes over in the book how to think about pricing, and I think that it's really insightful. I think you'll get a lot from it, and you might make some different decisions in how you kind of position your menu and your pricing for your clients as well. Because you're able to raise your prices when you have really thought about how you can serve people better than the competition or in a different way than the competition. And that's how you're able to charge more for it. And clients know that. They automatically associate higher prices with more value. So that's something that is really cool that this book kind of encourages you to think about. Another great point that Seth Godin makes in this book is he talks about identifying your target market, not based on demographics, but based on what he calls psychographics. So in business school, I used to study business in college, but in business school, they teach you, okay, you have to learn your demographics, age, location, very vague things like that. And Seth Godin kind of turns that on his head and he says that stuff is really not as important as their psychographics. So what are their worldviews? What are things that they believe about life? What are groups they belong to? It's so much more deep. And if you can kind of tap into those things about why people do certain things, why people believe certain things, you could speak to those people more effectively. And ultimately, it's going to be your message that really resonates with people and helps you stand out from the rest of the crowd. Because the truth is, there is always going to be someone that is much better than you, much more skilled, and much more able to give the client exactly what they want, technically speaking. But it's your message and it's your ability to be able to really understand their needs, wants, and desires that will help set you apart from the competition. And I believe this 100%. So those are just some key things from the book that I think are really relatable to hairstylists, but you're gonna find a ton more when you read this book. So I'll make sure to link it in the description below, as well as any of the other books as well. The second book that I'm gonna recommend is called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Donald Miller is an author that comes from a background of being a storyteller. I believe he's written some fiction books and then also has done some screenwriting for movies and just has studied the film industry a lot. And one thing that he's really skilled at is understanding storytelling. And if you think about it, I'm a Christian, so one great example of this is, why was Jesus Christ so influential? He told a lot of stories. Stories are what really gets into the depths of people's soul. You remember them more. You remember the moral or the message more of what idea somebody's trying to convey based on the story that it's kind of encased in. So that is kind of the philosophy behind marketing based on storytelling. So how this relates to hairstylists is when you're writing captions for Instagram, when you are designing your menu, when you are writing your bio for your website, he teaches you how to formulate things based on the formula of storytelling, of really great storytelling. So he shows you in this book how to structure your marketing message in the format of great storytelling so that you can really just relate to your clients on such a different level and get them to understand that you were the right person to book with. So this is a really interesting concept. I think that you'll be really inspired by. And there's a lot of practical tips in this book that you can actually implement and use right away too. One of his ideas that I really like from this book too is he teaches you how to understand your own message and your own value and what you deliver to clients so well that you can articulate it very, very clearly. He helps you kind of break through the noise of all the other marketing that's out there online, which a lot of us do, like online marketing, Instagram, social media, things like that, and how to kind of set yourself apart by just being very clear. He says that a lot of times websites are so overcluttered with information that is not super relevant to exactly what the client is searching for, that just by being a little bit more clear and concise and to the point will help you actually book more clients, because he says that you're making people burn too many calories if you have too many words on a website and you're just not to the point and not very clear. People don't want to spend all this time and energy trying to figure out exactly what you can do for them. So one thing that he really emphasizes is knowing your message so well that you can communicate it very clearly. This will help with not only your website, but also when you're doing consultations. A lot of the time people agree to stuff. Like, a client will agree to what you say the plan is for their hair and they don't really understand it. So he teaches you how to like take your message, break it down so it's easy for the client to understand and just be as clear as possible. So I think that could actually really help you with your retention rate when you do free consultations for clients as well. So those are a couple of things that I really like from that book. I think both those marketing books are super important. It's because like with StoryBrand, if you could really just get to the bottom of what you offer people and what your message really is, what you really believe really is, and you're able to clearly communicate it, you will see that it will not be so far of a stretch to think about raising your prices and going to that next level in your career. And then with Seth Godin's book, teaching you how to think about serving people first and digging into their, psychographics rather than their demographics. Those two different ideas from these books are really going to help set you apart from every other stylist out there. Okay, so the last book that I'm going to recommend for today, and again, I could do another one of these videos, but I didn't want to overwhelm you, so I wanted to just start with 3. But the last book I'm going to recommend for you today is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This book has been around for a really long time. Stephen Covey is a really fantastic motivational speaker. What I love about this book is it's not a self-help book. A lot of times when you read a self-help book, it's like, you're beautiful just the way you are, you're perfect just the way you are, all of your strength is just going to come from within and you could do anything you want in life. This book is very different because instead of just kind of propping you up as this individual who is just so powerful, like beyond measure, it kind of has you do the hard work of identifying character flaws in yourself and learning how to build up your character so that you can then do better business, have better relationships. It's more about asking how you can build yourself up so that you can serve others rather than trying to figure out, how people can just serve you or how the world could treat you better. So I really like that about this book. The 7 habits are, number 1 is be proactive, and it juxtaposes the difference between proactive people and reactive people. Proactive people are those who kind of take inventory of the skills and things and gifts that they have in life and how they can use them to benefit others and ultimately benefit themselves. Reactive people are people who constantly blame their boyfriend for their problems or their kids for their problems or every other environmental excuse for their problems. And they never really look at what they can do and offer the world. So that's the difference between being proactive and being reactive. Very, very important. The second one is begin with the end in mind. So a lot of times we kind of get consumed by daily tasks that aren't necessarily in line with our ultimate goals. So that kind of reminds you to make sure that you have a reason and a purpose behind what your ultimate goal is so that every decision that you can make sure it's in line with that ultimate goal and not get distracted by other things that are just kind of exciting at the time that aren't going to be in line with that ultimate goal. And then number 3 is put first things first. So making sure that you start out with prioritizing your to-do list so that you're not just kind of at the whim of whatever can happen in one day. You're not constantly just worried about putting out fires. He distinguishes the difference between things that are urgent and things that are a priority. Sometimes things that are urgent are not necessarily a priority. So that is one of the key ideas behind put first things first. So an example of that would be, okay, you are working on something very important and you get a text message and it pops up. Your phone is so distracting and you automatically, it's urgent because it's like in your face. That's what he means by urgent. And you're just like, okay, I need to respond to this right away. But it's kind of like creating the habit of just resisting that urge, like turning your phone off, things like that. Actually, when this book was written, I don't think they even had text messages like that. It's more just talking about emails and stuff. But anything with notifications, those are going to kind of throw you off track from your priorities. So it really teaches you how to kind of focus on your priority, make sure that you're not distracted on things that are just urgent and not necessarily a priority. And then the last few are more about kind of interpersonal relationships. So number 4 is think win-win. So any interpersonal relationships where you're dealing with other people, whether it's with clients, whether it's with people in your family, just interpersonal relationships, you're always wanting to try to arrive at a solution that is win-win. If you lose or the client loses or your family member loses, you want to try to default to just not making a deal at all. This reminds me a lot of when clients are like, I really want to get my hair done, but you're just too expensive. You know, a lot of the times I just say, okay, you know, if this is not going to be a win-win for both of us, like, hey, I don't want to do your hair. You know, I don't want to disappoint you. You know, this is what I charge for hair. Sometimes it's okay to just not make the deal at all. That's one of the ideas behind Think Win-Win. You always want to strive for something that's going to mutually benefit both of you in a deal or transaction, or even in just personal relationships. But if you can't, just default to not even making the deal at all. That's a viable option. So number 5 is seek first to understand and then to be understood. A lot of times when people come to you with problems, you know, whether it's clients or even just friends, our first instinct is like, oh, well, you should be doing this. Oh, well, you should be doing this. Well, you should be doing this. But this really teaches you how to make sure that you first understand the why behind their problems and really figure out how to empathize with them and try to see really where they're coming from before you get to the point where you seek to be understood and start giving out advice and things like that. So this really helps you do that. Number 6 is synergy. So this is super helpful if you work with a lot of employees in a salon and even in just normal personal relationships as well. But the idea behind synergy is the sum of the whole is greater than the value of each of the individual parts. So for example, if you're building a house, one piece of wood has a certain amount of strength, but when you put that piece of wood connected to another piece of wood, the combined strength is actually more than just the single piece of wood on its own. So that's kind of the idea behind synergy. So you want to really think of other people, other employees, as people with their own unique talents and gifts that can all be used to the benefit of the whole. So this is a really good management strategy and just a way of thinking about your coworkers to make you appreciate them a little bit more and enjoy your career a little more. And number 7 is sharpen the saw. So he gives this example of a guy who is sawing down a tree. Another guy walks up and he's like, hey, like you need to sharpen that saw. And he's like, I don't have time to sharpen the saw right now. I need to get this tree chopped down. And the other guy is like, well, if you would just sharpen the saw, that tree would go down a lot quicker. So a lot of times we neglect things that are super important to make us more effective in life, like getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise, because we're like, we don't have time for that right now, or reading books even. You know, I don't have time for that right now. But a lot of those things that are very important to us could go a lot more smoothly if we are sharpening the saw and making sure that we're keeping things that make us more effective as a priority. Well, thanks so much for listening to my thoughts on these books and kind of these little summaries that I gave you. I'd love to know if there's one of these books that really stands out to you that you're excited to start reading right now. And I hope that I've inspired you to kind of dig into reading as a way of self-educating, because I think that it's really going to empower you to see a lot more growth in your career. Like if you feel stuck, unmotivated, things like that. I think this is really going to help you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, let me know which book that stood out to you the most that you think you're going to get started with reading right now. I'm going to link all of these books in the description below if you want to check them out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share it with a friend. Thank you guys so much. And then also I have some cool resources for you in the links in the description below if you want more help from me too. So thanks again. My name's Lauren and I'll see you in the next video.